All right, good morning. Welcome back from spring break. Did everybody have a good spring break? Yeah? Anybody go anywhere fun? Awesome. Dallas. I was going to do a short presentation on AMA at UCO and why you should join AMA, because I went to New Orleans with our AMA competitive team over spring break. The college pays for that, so I will do that. A week from today, I'll give you a brief presentation about the AMA, why you should join and be interactive, because it's an opportunity for you to get to go to New Orleans and get the school to pay for it. I'll show you some pictures. But we've got a lot to do today because you had a critical thinking challenge that you did and you worked on last time with regard to branding. We need to talk about services marketing, and then I will do an exam review for the third exam. If you didn't read me too well, I will not include the pricing chapter on this exam. It says that it will be included, but I couldn't get through 2 chapters of pricing services and have that on the exam. So if you are upset by that little modification, it does say that it is subject, the syllabus says that this is subject to modification on the course schedule, and that's because sometimes we get behind or something happens and we want to talk about stuff. But if you are offended by that and you really want the pricing chapter to be on the exam, you let me know and I will make a special test for you. So that will include the pricing chapters, and you're welcome to answer those questions. What I want you to do is I want you to take about 5 minutes, since you probably have slept since you did the last critical thinking exercise. I want you to take 5 minutes to think about what it is you want to say in terms of your group's critical thinking. Have one person come up and we'll talk a little bit about that to present. I've got the microphone on here, so I'm going to try this a little differently this time. Instead of having you go around, I'm going to go from the bottom of the list up, and if you come up and present for your group, select one person, and what we're going to do is we will go from the bottom. The last time I showed you this with this, we went from the top down, and that's how I called. So we'll start with Team Ware, then Team Sunshade, then TO Technology, Stronger Together, Linda Friend, then Go Getters, Global Marketing, Front and Furious, Diversified, District 3, Business Architect Solutions, and ATD, and then 9Ds. All right? So think about what you want to say, have somebody come up. We'll talk about your branding thing from a combination of the 2 videos that I showed you, one on the Marriott, the other on TED Talks, and what we can learn about that from branding. And we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about services marketing, and then I will give you the review for the third exam, which will include the chapters on new products, branding, and managing products and brands, and services marketing. So those are the 3 chapters that will be covered. I'll give you 5 minutes to think about this, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Again, send somebody up here, one person from each group, and use the microphone if you don't project as loudly as I do. And we'll talk about that and then move on to services. All right. All right. So. Has every group had a chance to review and look at it? You need to look at it on, okay, I'll give you 3 more minutes here. What's your group? Okay, so let's start with Team Where. Who's your spokesperson? If you want, you can take the microphone off.
Okay, so after watching the video, we can learn that there are numerous factors in decision-making involving new products, brands, and ideas. So when developing new products and co-creating brands, it is increasingly important to cater to the consumer's interests. Expansion of the brand is important to the survival of the company, and the goal is to make each product better than the last. So for example, with the Marriott Hotel, it wasn't just like a room to sleep in anymore. People are wanting a better hotel than the last one, and there's more things that go into it now.
Okay, very good. I think that's an important observation. And one of the things we talk about is something called living the brand, and I think that's an important thing in this value co-creation. Okay? Team Sunshade.
Alright, so when creating new products, the Marriott and TED Talks are similar in their aspects in order to obtain valued customers. The Marriott created an image within the brand that appeals to every aspect of a customer's life, from the interior to the service at the door. TED Talks establishes a credible platform for assorted professors, doctors, and other brilliant people to share their ideas and theories with not only those at the conferences, but any individual around the world online. Co-creation for the Marriott meant that when talking to those who stay at their hotels, they would take feedback and ideas directly into their development of new concepts. While TED Talks creates a credible platform regarding co-creation, consumers demanded an expansion of ideas to all consumers by generating more talks around the world.
You talked about credibility. Do you think that TED Talks lends credibility to the speakers? The fact that they can get on a TED Talk, you think, lends some amount of credence property. I think that's important, particularly when we talk about services today and how you evaluate that. So exactly. That's a good observation. Very good. All right. I told T.O. that they could go a week from today, so stronger together.
All right, so we took the book's definition of value co-creation as customer-generated content, and our thesis was kind of that the Marriott and TED have developed new products, brands, and ideas using methods of value co-creation. In the case of the Marriott hotels, they are always expanding and attempting to find new ways to please customers, whether that be with new locations or improved features added because of customer feedback. By making adjustments in their products, they are able to attain new customers while becoming more pleasing to steady Marriott customers who have loyalty and trust to the brand. TED has provided an easy way of promoting the concept of a new product. They have a wide range of individuals from all walks of life to give presentation, and that allows them to appeal to a diverse audience. By using social media to spread new ideas, they're able to encourage young individuals. And in conclusion, we're just saying that both businesses have found their own way of developing new products, brands, and ideas, and the use of co-creation has allowed them to expand their business in greater ways.
I just had a question. So you talked about continuous improvement. So do you think that like Marriott uses an incremental approach, or do you think it's a radical change in terms of their new release of different brands like the Courtyard or the Edition or I don't know, other sort of brands under the umbrella? Is that just like an incremental change, or do you think it's actually a dramatic change in there?
I would say that, I don't know what my team would say, but I would say they probably test it in increments before launching, a big change. It's probably not for their sake of preventing a greater risk. They kind of make little adjustments here and there and see how they can put them all together to make a big adjustment.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Lend a friend. Sure, yeah. Go-getters.
Okay, the video is educational by reflecting on benefits that are effective strategies by both companies, TED and the Marriott. They discussed how over the course of time, how they ran their ideas, services, and products. This is important information to listen to because of their success. Things to learn from the video is if you want to start a new product, service, or idea, to do environmental scanning, make sure that the location you want to build upon has the supply and demand for your product, move with the times, and improve your idea or product. If your idea is a success, then expansion is necessary to be successful, and you might want to rethink partnership. If you do partner with somebody, make sure it's with other visionaries. Partner with somebody that your idea lacks, something that benefits both parties, and joining forces will create a mastermind. And the ultimate goal is to have a high ROI with mass amount of profit. Your item doesn't need an introduction. The product gets people excited about ideas worth spreading. And if you achieve this, in order to keep it, you must maintain it. So.
All right, very good. I think one of the things that your group did that's really important is, I've stressed this over and over again, how you have to integrate all these things. So you're talking about environmental scanning, and integrating that I think is an important thing when you talk about value co-creation and branding and continuous improvement. So I think that's a good observation. Very good. All right. Got the global marketing.
So when you're creating a brand, it's important that it resonates with your intended customers, that it capitalizes on their niche, and brings them together with your product to create a mutually valued outcome. We see this with the Marriott when they talk about every time they find a new niche, every time they're going to find a new niche, they're going to make a new brand. TED Talks actually does the same thing only in reverse. They understand that people come to TED Talks for very specific things. So when they want to expand, they create a completely new brand so that people that want different things can go to those things. And so both these companies kind of understand that when you want to expand into a new market, that each new market requires different things and different understandings. And so you have to create a new brand so that you don't disenfranchise your current customers that come to your brand for what they want, but you can also address what the new markets themselves want.
Okay. I think that your recognition of the niche marketing and that involves product differentiation is really important. So I think that's a good observation as well. Okay, are we on front and curious?
Positive brand association and product differentiation are valuable for a successful product life. The Marriott has integrated positive brand association and keeps a high customer retention rate simply by creating a recognizable and memorable hotel stay. TED is a high-grossing organization that created different branches of their product to reach a whole new array of customers. Utilizing product differentiation, TED makes available more product lines for consumers. Both of these strategies are successfully executed and help to better both companies.
Okay, very good. I think that your focus on positive brand image and association is an important observation in this. All right.
When people see a glass bottle figure, most would recognize the symbol with the brand Coca-Cola. The moment of this recognition is exactly what the company of Coca-Cola wants from its customers. When it comes to brands, it affects customers in a middle way by giving the customers characteristics that they can remember from the product. That is also called the trademark. When we discussed on Thursday, using brands can make a label for your company and produce new services and products for your company through consumers' feedback. A product distinguishes brands from each other in the market. When making that brand, you have to make it easy and always including spelling, color, easy to remember, short and link, etc. Partnerships, collaboration, and co-creation value will become important dimensions of competition. As we're in this new age of consumer generated content such as feedback, reviews, and stuff like that, it's important as it's growing as a competitive advantage for companies.
All right. You all recognize something that's important there with the Coca-Cola and what we talked about is this idea that you see the bottle and automatically you have an idea and a position in the market of where that product is. So I think that's an important observation.
Brand management is very important when deciding to build up a company. You want something that will appeal to your customers, consumers, and outsiders who need to know more information. Developing a good relationship with the target market is essential for branding the company as well. Another important asset in branding is the role of product development and product marketing, which partake in the objective of maximizing sales revenue, market shares, and profit margins. Brand management is also very different in different parts of the country. Despite the chain brands that run across the nation, in order to maximize sales, your brands need to correlate with the interest of your consumers in that state, such as brand names in Oklahoma might be very different from those in California. The Marriott Hotel was a very productive hotel that met the needs of customers and developed a more ideal hotel for the traveling businessman, while still meeting the needs of the regular customer. While TED Talks has developed products through value co-creation and met the needs of customers based on their feedback, which will result in bringing more customers. Both notice the problem and seek to make a change that will not only benefit them, but their customers in every aspect.
You all did something that's nice, which is picking up on how segmentation is important in this idea of branding and the idea that you can have different segments for different parts of the country. And your segments may be very, very different. For example, in Marriott, what people expect in terms of the room in New York City is going to be radically different than maybe what they'll expect in places like Oklahoma City. So that's good. Very good. All right. Business architect solutions.
several strategies such as continuous innovation, dynamic continuous innovation, and discontinuous innovation. FT's continuous innovation by marketing its own flavor of cola, a product not previously used by the firm, but by Coke. Gillette used dynamic continuous innovation by providing education to customers when advertising a disposable lighter, which used the benefits of both matches and a lighter. The 8-track player fell victim to discontinuous innovation when they fundamentally changed the recording and output of the audio devices when the compact disc was made available to the consumer. Many big companies plan for what the next innovation will be in the coming years, but sometimes fall short of the desired product. Those companies spend millions on marketing research and customers' feedback and how they're easy to change in order to make their lives easier. Those companies have to evolve as the innovation changes through the years, where they will stop being relevant and fall into the category of discontinuous innovation. And the market of consumers will start switching. In conclusion, we can look back on the moments in time where product stopped being relevant to a company because a new product and ideas were developed to change the way that consumers look at a brand. The top brands have to keep continuous innovation with each product that the consumer is looking for because the business needs to grow and wants more market to share. And that's it.
Alan, to follow up on what I asked about the other, in terms of the continuous innovation process, do you think that, with regard to hotels, and they talked about Ian Schrager, do you think that when Ian Schrager released the first boutique hotel, that was a totally, really unique idea and a disruption? Or do you think it's continued? You think so? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Very good. ATD?
Hello. Said something then.
Based on the two videos, adapting and adjusting to consumer needs and expectations is critical to keep the business thriving. The Marriott and TED Talks have common ground where each company is adapted to grow their customer base. This is exemplified through value co-creation and a brand name that sets itself apart from the rest of the competition. Marriott started with 5 hotels, and within the first 2 years, the thought of growth within the company was slow and customer satisfaction was low due to uncomfortable beds, lack of space, and a visually unappealing atmosphere. Growth started when J.W. Marriott Jr. Researched what their customer base was looking for in a home away from home. What we gathered was customers want a better experience for a cheaper price, more living space, and a comfortable bed to sleep on. TED Talks stream informative videos online to allow the entire world to become educated on interesting topics. TED Talks originally performed their talks in a way that drew negative criticism, which landed them on Saturday Night Live skit criticizing their representativeness and the manner they carried themselves. Since then, TED Talks have adjusted to meet the needs of consumers, making it more interesting and broadening their horizons. TED Talks have since branched out to TEDx, TED India, TED Youth, TED Women to attract a broader array of views. These two companies have performed similar actions and a better chance of survival among competitors. Both companies have adapted to bring more consumers and keep the ones that they've already have. And they continue to grow today.
One of the things that you guys think is really important is that when we talked about, again, how all this integrates, planning is important, and being able to come up with an idea and bring it to fruition is important, but you constantly have to monitor that and reevaluate so that you continue to, I mean, it's not a static process. You have to continually build on that improvement. I think that's an important note to take away. All right, 9 ideas.
Okay. Value co-creation is a main staple in developing products, growing and managing brands. By engaging in value co-creation, both TED and Marriott videos display how the value of the product or service at hand can increase dramatically in the eyes of consumers. As emphasized in the TED video, ideas are worth spreading. Humanity thrives on knowledge, sharing ideas and gaining insights from people of all walks of life, which can benefit companies in managing and growing their brands. To keep expanding their services, TED brings in various speakers with distinctive backgrounds and knowledge to capture their diverse audiences. Bill Marriott realized with his chain of Marriott hotels by conducting market research and finding out exactly what the customers wanted. With such high value given to his customers, Bill Marriott created multiple hotels to suit both the desires and needs of the people staying there. In turn, this helped Marriott expand in various regions and countries, making it one of the most successful and well-known hotel chains around the world. Without value co-creation, business executives may not produce the best possible products or services to fit the needs of their consumers, which may also hinder the company's success and growth.
That's really good. I think your idea about how humanity thrives on knowledge is important. Aristotle said that all men by their very nature desire to know. And so this idea of how we engage the senses and increase knowledge, and in an economy that largely is service-driven, which we'll talk about today, I think that's important because it's intensive knowledge products that we are basically producing in today's marketplace. So good observation.
Thank you.
All right. Did Linda Friend?
Developing new products and brands to go with these products is a very important step for any company to take. Both of these ideas are needed for a company to survive or make a gain in the business world. Branding, however, is what sets the product apart from the rest. Setting a brand for a product can help the company expand to specific niches in different markets. Marriott has continued to take a product such as hotel businesses and make different brands for different niches for the customers to choose from. This allows the consumer to have a wide range of options to choose from. Whether you want a style or comfort or affordability and convenience, there will be a hotel under its 18 brands that will fit your specific needs. Marriott continues to grow because of its ability to keep up with wants and needs of consumers, all while providing good customer service. TED nowadays, however, has formed many different brands to combat this idea. The different brands cover different issues. Ideas that allow different views to be shared by adding diversity in their own way. Although they may still have a reputation of being formulaic by some, TED continues to expand its reach to many different avenues in other markets due to their brand expansion. These two companies show that branding of the product is just as important as the product itself. Branding allows the company to broaden its horizons and gain more consumers in the end. Even though they wouldn't really be a brand without a product wouldn't make it far without a brand backing it up.
One of the things that you all chose is based on the options to choose from, there's different price ranges, and I think that's an important thing. When we talk about price afterwards, we'll talk about the elasticity of price around various models, and I think so that's an interesting point that you brought up there. Okay, we will have one other presentation on these a week from today. So technology, you will remind me, because I have a horrible memory and will forget by then, that I said that after we go through the exam. So we need to talk about services, and then I will do a review for this exam. Again, it will not cover the pricing chapter, since I don't have time to cover 2 chapters on the pricing today. Look at, for those of you who have the older edition, which I told you you could use either edition for the book. So if you have this edition in chapter 12 on page 295, it talks about this idea of an authentic experience. And one of the things that we know from research, particularly on your generation, is that you all really, really crave this idea of authenticity. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you all, more than most people, really crave this idea of authenticity? Yes?
We've grown up in a generation where things can be very fake because of social media, and we want to know that what we're seeing all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly the correct answer. You all have grown up in an age in technology in which you can manipulate reality a lot based on social media and things that go on. And so there is this idea, and there are scholars that have published in this field. It's one of the fields that I study, and there's a book called Alone Together. And it talks about how your generation in particular are constantly in this inauthentic era because you're constantly on your phone, so you're with other people. How many of you do this? You go out in groups and you're all sitting there on your phone in your group looking at your phone. It's because you're wondering if the cooler kids are somewhere else. It's like, oh, I'm with my friends, but maybe somebody else might be doing something that's even better than what I'm doing right now. And so there is this complete lack of authenticity in many experiences that you have. And so you really strive and look for that idea of authenticity in your experiences. One of the things that's interesting in creating this in a service environment, the company that's the best at this is perhaps the most inauthentic on the planet, and it's Disney. You go to Disney World, and everything, it is the happiest place on earth. And it's a completely fake experience, and yet it feels completely authentic, doesn't it? Why is that? Why is this completely fake place one of the most authentic places on earth? Because everything they do focuses on service quality. And if you've been to Disney, it's almost obsessive. How many of you have been to Disney World or Disneyland? Quite a few of you. How many of you love it? They're obsessed. I mean, there are people walking around constantly picking things up. How many of you have gone to an amusement park where it's completely dirty and filthy and horrible and the bathrooms are god-awful? The State Fair. The State Fair has actually gotten better. It used to be really, really bad. They've now got people there. Disney is obsessed with this, and it's the most inauthentic place, and yet it feels completely authentic. Marketing scholars who study services, and I've told you this before, will tell you that services make the world go round. Just like I've said to you that marketing makes the world go round, branding scholars say that branding is the most important thing that a company will do. Services marketing people have a tendency to be solipsistic as well. And so there's a scholar you should know for the exam. Her name is Mary Jo Bittner, and she's written a book on services in many respects. And she says that all products are really services. What does that mean? All products are really services. Think about the Lord of the Rings. There's this little creature in the Lord of the Rings. You all know who I'm talking about? Gollum, right? Who has the ring. And he becomes, they tell you the story of how he got the ring, and he becomes this sort of hideous creature because, my precious. He values the ring for the thing in and of itself. Doesn't he? He's obsessed with the ring for the thing in and of itself. To the point that what happens in the Lord of the Rings, in the series of the Lord of the Rings? He actually tries to kill for the ring. So he values this thing in and of itself. Bittner says that we don't value the things in and of themselves. We value them for the service that they provide us. It's not that we value or treasure the hamburger at McDonald's for itself. What do we value it for? It's the service, which is what? The price is not necessarily the service that it's providing. What's the service that it's providing? It's food. It fills you up, it's consistent. You like it for the service, which is it's fast food that you can eat when you're hungry and you don't have a lot of time. And so you value it not for the Big Mac itself, not for the 2 all-beef patty special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, but because it tastes good and it satisfies your hunger. Not for the product. So it's a service, she would say, that it's actually providing. And this is important. Again, when we go back to and integrating these things with an environmental scan, one of the things that we see with regard to particularly the law in the United States, and I've talked about this before, is something called the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC. The UCC only applies to products unless if there's a service and it's primarily a product, then the UCC will apply. And this is important because the UCC has certain things like the implied warranty of merchantability. And if you can say that this is a product more than it is a service, you can get that implied warranty of merchantability to apply. And that's an important thing in the environmental scan. So when we think about this, and when we think about Dr. Binder's statement that all products are really services, that may be something that we would evaluate, whether or not it's primarily a service. If something is primarily a service, it falls outside of that regulatory scheme in the UCC. If it is a product that is tangentially a service, then it is covered by the UCC and something that marketers need to think about in terms of that regulatory environment. So let me give you some examples. Which do you think is more a product or a service? The copy machine upstairs. It falls clearly within the scope B. It's mostly a product. It has a service associated with it, which is the service contract, right? And so the terms of that service contract can be evaluated under the UCC because it's primarily, according to the courts, a product. What about a massage for massaging? Do they have products? Yes. What are the products? The oils, the lotions, things like that, the bathrobe, those are but is it primarily a service or a product? You don't want it for the oil and stuff like that. You want it for the service, and so it's not going to fall within the ambit of the UCC. We organize marketing around what we call the 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. With that, in regard to services, we also say that there are 4 Is in the services sector that we need to think about that make services unique in their delivery. So you should know these, and for the exam there are lots of things that we'll ask you about, substantive examples about these 4 Is of the services. So first of all is intangibility. What does that mean? It's intangible. What? Yeah, you can't touch it necessarily. If you come to me as a lawyer, there may be some things that are tangible that I will provide you. For example, if you wanted a will, and by the way, most of you will probably die intestate. One of the things that we know. Most people will die without a will. Why is that? Why is it that most people die without a will? It's creepy. We don't like to think about our own mortality, do we? And so I will provide you with this tangible product if you come to me and say, you know, I've got a job now, and I've got a kid, and I need to think about planning for that child, and so I want a will that will say, you know, what the child gets, or if I have multiple children, what they get. You're going to get a tangible product, a piece of paper, but what you really want is what? What do you really want in that will? What could go wrong if I don't draft the will correctly? Yeah, exactly. If I don't draft the will correctly and it doesn't meet the requirements, if we don't satisfy the requirements of the law in Oklahoma for probate, that will could be thrown out, and what you wanted to have happen to your stuff basically means that it's going to be divided according to your heirs at the time of your death because your will is not valid. And so you don't want the piece of paper itself, you want that intangible thing, right? What is that? Well, it's the knowledge that I have in my head as to what the requirements of the law are so that I can ensure that your stuff is distributed the way you want it to be distributed. So it's intangible. How do you can't touch, taste, feel the ability of my mind to know and produce that kind of knowledge that's necessary. And of course, these are interrelated. Because it's intangible, there may be inconsistent results. Inconsistency. Is it possible for me as an attorney to sort of draft one will that will serve all people? You're shaking your head on the back row. No. Why don't you think, surely I'm a brilliant lawyer. I could come up with one piece of paper that will satisfy all things at all times. Why is that not possible? Yeah, everybody has different assets that are completely unique. There's a difference between real property and personal property. And there's a difference between certain types of assets that fall outside of the probative estate and certain assets that stay inside the probative estate. Insurance, for example, falls outside of the probative estate. And so you have to know all these things, and each person is going to be unique. They're going to have different things that come with them when they come to me and they need this service. And so it's going to be inconsistent. I can't just draft one document, although we try in the services industry to do this, don't we? One of the things that's become enormously popular because of the expense of legal services is do-it-yourself legal services. Go online with LegalZoom, and we'll try to fit everything into a one document, thing that you can sort of plug and play in. The problem with that is that maybe if you don't meet the requirements of the state, then you might have a document that's not worth anything. That's absolutely worthless on its face. So inconsistency. What I consider to be good may be completely different from you. Let's go back to thinking about Massage Envy in terms of inconsistency. How many of you have gone and used Massage Envy? Anybody had a massage at Massage Envy? 2 people. Why did you go to Massage Envy? You heard about it? Have you used it more than once? No. You just went once. Have you had a massage someplace else besides Massage Envy? Which did you like better? They were both pretty good? Okay. Why did you go to Massage Envy? So you used it more than once?
Yeah, we would always go, right?
Okay. Have you had a massage someplace else? No, you've only used Massage Envy.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody, how many of you have had a massage? Not used Massage Envy, right? What was your experience like?
I had to go there twice, actually. Once I pulled my shoulder, because I swim, and they did a really bad job about it. And I was in the dog came for a whole week, and I was like, I got a massage, let's sleep it off. And then, I had to go back and get it redone, get it work out my shoulder again. So, then it was good the second time, because I was complaining on it.
One of the things going along with this idea of inconsistency is there's a whole lot of different types of massages out there, right? So you got one that didn't work. There's hot stone massages. There's deep tissue massages. There's the massages that they do in the mall. There's Massage Envy. And one of the things that's interesting about this and this idea of inconsistency is that one of my friends who's a services marketing scholar did some research and she said, one of the things that she thought had become problematic with things like Massage Envy is she said, it used to be a really special treat that I would treat myself to going to the spa to have a day and get a massage. And there, it was at a place that's nice, and there's all of these different ambient features that make the spa that I went to really nice. Massage Envy has commoditized the massage industry. It has basically made it like it's the McDonald's of massage. Where are Massage Envy's? Well, they're usually located in a strip mall, whereas historically a lot of spas are located in places like what? Oh, I don't know, a nice resort, something like, a health club with nice surroundings. And she said, it's really, it's no longer like it's this big treat for me to go. And so, again, going back to this idea of authentic experience and what your generation creates and craves is that idea of the authentic. And she argued that misogyny had basically made it, even though maybe it's actually a more authentic experience, sort of an inauthentic experience because there wasn't all of the other environmentals that she was used to. And separability, it's difficult to separate the goods from the person that's providing them. One of the things that happens is that if people like their doctors, even if their doctor messes up on the surgery, if they like their doctor, if they have a good bedside manner, one of the things that we know is that they're less likely to sue their doctor. They're less likely to file a medical malpractice lawsuit against their doctor because they like him. If they don't like him and he doesn't have a good bedside manner, they're far more likely to sue him than they are if they like him. Inventory costs. Inventory costs are enormously high in services for idle capacity. You should know this. If I have a product like green beans and I set it on my shelf at my convenience store to sell, if it doesn't sell today, I might be able to sell it when? Tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day. As a lawyer, if I'm not billing, I can't have that time made up. Can't ever get it back, which means the inventory costs are high. In my own profession, the legal profession, they want you to bill, if you go into a big building firm, 1,900 hours a year. How many hours are in a work year? What? Somebody said it?
2020.
No, 2080. If you take 52 and multiply it by 40, I believe that comes out to 2080. Isn't that right? If I don't work today, I can't make up this time tomorrow. Really. It's gone. So the inventory costs are extremely high. Because of these 4 I's of services, one of the things that happens and that's problematic, and they talk about, is the idea of credence properties. It's more difficult to evaluate services than it is to evaluate products. If the copier doesn't work upstairs, which is a tangible product, I can tell right away that it doesn't work. How do you evaluate a lawyer? Legal services. Can it be by outcome? One of the things that's problematic, so you go on Angie's list and you start looking at, evaluating lawyers, everything from plumbers and doctors to lawyers and more is Angie's list slogan. And she lists, are you really good? Are the people that are reviewing lawyers really good at evaluating this credence property of the law? I don't think they are. One of my friends was getting a divorce and asked me for advice on a divorce attorney, and I gave him a recommendation. He went on Angie's list and he said, I don't want that lawyer because she had really bad reviews on Angie's list. And I said, well, Paul, I don't think that, divorce doesn't happen in church. Nobody is happy in a divorce. And they, as a result, all hate their divorce attorneys. Because half of your stuff is going to leave. Nobody likes that. Wave bye-bye to half your stuff. And I said, so I don't think Angie's list is a really great way of evaluating a lawyer. Because you can't do it based on results. The dumbest people in my law school class became, well, there's one class that's dumb. Some of the dumbest people in my law school class became prosecutors. If you can't figure out, I went to Oklahoma City University for law school. Law school at that time cost $800 a credit an hour to go. It now costs $1,200 a credit an hour to go to law school at OCU. And if you can't figure out that you can't pay your student loan bill, which you will come out with, when I came out of law school, the average student was coming out with $120,000 in student loan debt from law school. It's now closer to $200,000. And if you can't figure out that you cannot possibly pay the service on that debt at a $50,000 a year job and live, you're an idiot. Had really high success rates. Those look dumb. They were dumb. They were the dumbest people in my law school class. Except for one. There was one that was dumber. It was called public defenders. They have enormously high success rates. If you look at the number of cases they win, why do they have such good success rates? Because the criminals are dumber than they are. Right? So win-loss ratio doesn't really work in evaluating these things. And because of these 4 I's, and inconsistency, inventory, and all these things, it's very hard to evaluate whether or not a service is good. We try, and so there's something, and your text talks about it on page 3 or 4, you have the older edition, called the gap analysis. Rating people, yes ma'am.
Did you say the 4th I?
The what?
The 4th I?
Yeah, inventory. Didn't I?
Inconsistency.
I talked about inconsistency.
I didn't count. I didn't catch that. That was an I. I thought it was tagged onto inconsistency.
No, it's intangible, inconsistent, inseparable. I talked about that. Inventory costs. Did you all get that?
All right, got it.
Okay. So the gap analysis on page 3 or 4. Evaluating your expectations along this continuum in things like reliability, tangibles. Again, going back to massage, what is the appearance of the physical facility, the environmental cues that will affect that? The responsiveness, the assurance, and finally the empathy. Again, with the medical doctor, the more you like your doctor, the more you feel that they have empathy for you in the position, the less likely you are to sue them. So rating these things along these dimensions can be enormously important. There are companies that do this, again, going back to branding, living the brand. One of the things that happens in the airline industry, I just got back from New Orleans with my group from AMA, and we flew on American. Normally I fly in Southwest. It was a horrible experience on American. Their staff treats you like, unless you're in first class, very poorly. Southwest, everything's fun. Southwest engages in something called, because they're a service provider, they engage in something called living the brand. And their providers are very good at it. And Southwest overall has the highest customer satisfaction of the airline industry. So all of these things are important to think about. We can classify services in different ways, and you should know how to do that. We can classify them as delivery by people or equipment. So lots of services are now provided through equipment. Things like how many of you do your taxes with TurboTax? That's largely provided by equipment, right? Software downloaded from a computer on the World Wide Web to do your taxes, or if it's evaluated by people. If you can do it by equipment, does that help with one of the I's, which is inconsistency? It may. We can automate things like that. You can classify them as for-profit or non-for-profit. Lots of services are provided by non-for-profit. Government-sponsored services are important. Things like police, fire, protection that are provided by governmental agencies. So that's a big area in the services sector industry. It's also one where we see overlap. There are now more police officers in private police forces, aka security services, than there are in many towns in their police force. All right, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to put your devices up here if you want, so I can talk about the exam. All right. So with regard to goods, you should know that how goods can be classified, and that in addition to the tangible products that goods contain, they may also have intangible attributes. Why is it, for example, that people buy Rolex watches? Is it so that they can tell time? What's the intangible asset or attribute that goes along with the Rolex watch? It's the prestige, right? That's an intangible. It makes you feel good or whatever. It's a diving watch. The division of products into durable and non-durable goods can provide direction for marketing actions. You should know which type, according to your text, relies more on advertising. You should be able to identify differences between tangible products and services. Product classifications differ in 3 respects, according to your text. You should know about the classification of products into things like shopping products, convenience products, specialty, be able to identify each category substantively. The distribution of various types of products. We'll talk more about that when we get to logistics, but your text talks about in that chapter the distribution, what kinds of things are going to be more widespread. Gives you an example of what's an unsought product that you need to identify substantively. So unsought products are usually things like what? How many of you know the name of your record company? No. Call AAA, right? You don't think about it until you need it. We've talked a lot about in here in previous chapters, and they reiterated in the chapter on products on derived demand. So what kind of products? So we've talked about you can have business products, consumer products would be an example, a substantive example of derived demand. What are the 2 major classifications of business products? What would be an example of an installation? You should know the difference between, be able to distinguish between a product line and a product mix, and also understand the relationship between the product line and the product mix. How can we classify new products? What kinds of perspectives, for example, can we use to classify new products? You need to be able to distinguish and provide substantive examples of the different types of innovation. So for example, continuous innovation, and provide a substantive, it will give you a list and say which is an example of a continuous innovation. how the Federal Trade Commission views new products. From the organization's perspective, which type of new product strategy has the highest level of risk? You should understand the new product protocol, how you can avoid product failure. What are the reasons for, we talked a lot about the reasons for product failure. I gave you some examples. New Coke. You need to know what market modification is. We talked a lot about the product life cycle. So introduction, growth, maturity, decline. I asked you, for example, like where Coke was. A lot of you said you thought it was in the mature stage. I think it's kind of in the decline stage, in the United States at least. What you want to do in each of those life stages. So the introductory, what you're trying to do is gain awareness. There are some substantive examples that ask you what stage of the life cycle things are. For example, your text gives the example of 3D HD TVs. What do you think that is? Where do you think the iPhone is? How to reposition a product. We talked about brands, this idea, so you should know something from, there's a PowerPoint in my lecture, I talked about branding, so there's a PowerPoint that I gave you online, and I also talked about those, so you should know the authors that I talked about, Turley and Moore, Kevin Lane Keller, the typologies of brands, the type of brand that the type of brand typology that I added, which is what? I told you I thought the typology there should be in addition to that typology brands. So there was, for example, person-based brands, geographic representation brands, alphanumeric brands. The one that I said that I think we ought to consider adding to the typology is the theme-based branding, things like Frontier City, which is branded on a theme. You should know about brand licensing, family branding. Talked about the 4 I's of services today. You need to know about that. Authenticity. Being able to substantively identify things like inconsistency or how you can deal with that, intangibility. Classification of services, and be able to identify substantive examples of person-based services versus other types of delivery methods. Idle production capacity, why that's a problem. How you can deal with the credence properties that we talked about through the use of search and experience in evaluating services. And you should know the name of the author that I gave you today, what she says about services. That all products are really services. Can you think of one product that may not be a service that we value in and of itself? I can think of one. Art. We might value the art for it in and of itself, not for the service that it provides. Again, it'll be 50 questions, 50 multiple guess questions, green Scantron form 882E. You all have any questions?
Hey, are we good? Way to live if someone could take the road, Jack. It was like, baby. I know, I thought it.